Imagine you are living in a chaotic Roman Empire where political intrigue, ambition for power, and the fragility of life are always lurking. In the midst of all this turmoil, there is a man with extraordinary wisdom, overcoming all the ups and downs to become one of the greatest philosophers in history. That man is Lucius Annaeus Seneca, a Stoic philosopher, a brilliant writer, and an influential political advisor. Seneca's life is not only a story of success and tragedy, but also a journey of a soul searching for peace amid the storms of life. He left the world with invaluable lessons on how to live virtuously, manage emotions, and face adversity. Seneca lived, wrote, and even embraced death according to the philosophy he believed in. Control what you can, accept what you cannot change, and find true freedom in your soul. Today, we explore the life and legacy of Seneca, a timeless symbol of wisdom and resilience. From his triumphs in the Roman court to his lonely exile, from his betrayals of power to his brush with death, his story will take us deep into the timeless values of Stoic philosophy, and perhaps, in his teachings, you will find light to guide your own journey. Lucius Annaeus Seneca, commonly known as Seneca the Younger, was born around 4 BC in Córdoba, now Córdoba, Spain. He came from a wealthy and distinguished family. His father, Seneca the Elder, was a renowned orator and author of several important works on the art of oratory. Seneca's family emigrated to Rome when he was young, where he was educated by the most prominent philosophers of the time. He received his rhetorical and philosophical training in Rome. Seneca was educated in the Greco-Roman philosophical environment, particularly influenced by Stoicism, an ideology that emphasized self-retreat, virtue, and the ability to face adversity. From his early years, he demonstrated a remarkable intellect and a keen sense of philosophical thought. In 41 AD, Seneca was exiled to Corsica under Emperor Claudius, but he was allowed to return in 49 AD to become tutor to Nero, who was a Roman emperor and the last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, reigning from 54 AD until his death in 68 AD. When Nero became emperor in 54, Seneca became his advisor, and together with his praetor Sextus Fabius Burrus, provided competent government for the first 5 years of Nero's reign.
Seneca's influence over Nero declined over time, and in 65 AD, Seneca was forced to commit suicide after being accused of complicity in a Personnian plot to assassinate Nero, of which he was completely innocent.
His suicide has been the subject of many paintings. Stoic philosophy was not just abstract ideas for Seneca, but also the way he lived, worked, and faced adversity. As one of the most prominent representatives of this school, Stoic philosophy permeated every aspect of his life, from the works he left behind to the way he dealt with great events. For Seneca, Stoicism was not a dry ideology but a practical art of living, helping people find peace amid the storms of life. He was described as a great and controversial figure of antiquity and the most interesting Stoic in the world. Speaking more about Seneca's death, Seneca played an important role as an advisor, teacher, and one of the architects of Nero's stable and prosperous early years. This is not something Seneca typically does, and we are more impressed than by the steps they took in the style they followed and admire. However, this conflict is rare. Seneca's rest was the right decision. However, their relationship gradually deteriorated as Nero became increasingly brutal and power-hungry. In 58 AD, the senator Publius Sullius Rufus launched a series of public attacks on Seneca. These were reported by Tacitus and Cassius Dio, including allegations that, in just 4 years of serving Nero, Seneca had amassed a personal fortune of 300 million sestertii by charging high interest rates on loans across Italy and the provinces. Sullius's attacks included accusations of sexual corruption, with suggestions that Seneca had slept with Agrippina. However, Tacitus reports that Suilius was deeply prejudiced. He had been a favorite of Claudius and had been an embezzler and an informant. In response, Seneca launched a series of prosecutions against Suilius for corruption. Half of his estate was confiscated and he was exiled. However, the attacks reflect a criticism of Seneca that was made at the time and continued in later eras. In 65 AD, a plot to assassinate Nero, known as the Pisonian plot, was uncovered. It was intended to overthrow Nero and install Gaius Calpurnius Piso on the throne. Although there is no conclusive evidence that Seneca was involved in the plot, he was suspected by Nero due to his previous close relationship with many of the conspirators, and Nero ordered him to commit suicide. Seneca complied by cutting several of his veins and bleeding to death, and his wife Pompeia Paulina attempted to share his fate by committing suicide with him, but Nero ordered Seneca's wife to be spared. When the suicide order was given, Seneca received it with remarkable calmness and composure, a clear demonstration of his lifelong adherence to Stoic philosophy. According to the historian Tacitus, Seneca did not panic or fear. Instead, he saw death as an inevitable part of life, something he had long prepared for. Seneca spent his final moments saying goodbye to his friends and his wife, Paulina. He comforted them and encouraged them to live strongly, reminding them that death was a release from the sufferings of the world. He told them, "Our lives are borrowed from fate, and it is only natural to return them." Seneca chose to end his life in a calm and composed manner, in keeping with his teachings on preparing for death. However, his death was not quick or easy, but rather painful and prolonged. Opening the veins. Seneca began by opening the veins in both wrists. When the bleeding was not fast enough, he continued to open the veins in his feet and ankles. However, due to his age and declining health, the bleeding was not as strong as expected. Drinking poison. To speed up the process, Seneca drank poison. However, the medicine did not work immediately, perhaps because his body was no longer strong enough to react to it. Hot bath. Finally, to hasten his death, he decided to soak in hot water, both to stimulate blood flow faster and as a way to clean his body before passing away. He remained calm throughout the process, talking and advising those around him until the last minute. Seneca's death was not only the end of a life, but also a symbol of his adherence to Stoic principles. He had prepared himself for death long ago, not by avoiding it, but by facing it as a natural part of his fate. He did not see death as a failure or an injustice, but as a final opportunity to live up to what he had taught. Self-retrieval. Seneca asserted ultimate control over how people deal with death. He did not let Nero or fate decide everything, but actively chose how to leave this world. Philosophy of action. Seneca's death is a powerful testament to the consistency between philosophy and action. He not only taught, but lived and died according to Stoic philosophy. Seneca's death did not tarnish his legacy, but rather highlighted the power and durability of Stoic philosophy. His approach to death has inspired generations to come, reminding us that equanimity in the face of adversity, even in the most difficult circumstances, people can find peace by accepting what cannot be changed. Death is not the end. For Stoics like Seneca, death is simply a part of nature, nothing to fear or grieve about. Seneca's death was a painful tragedy, but at the same time a powerful testament to the power of Stoic philosophy. He turned death into a noble philosophical act, leaving behind the lesson that even in the final moments, people can still live virtuously, self-reliantly, and resiliently. Seneca was not only a great philosopher, but also a man who truly lived what he believed in, even in the face of death. One of the distinctive features of Lucius Annaeus Seneca's philosophy is that he was not only a thinker, but also a doer. He believed that philosophy was not just for contemplation or debate, but should be applied directly to life to improve oneself and the community. For Seneca, philosophy was an art of living, a guide to help people face challenges and live virtuously. His works discuss both ethical theory and practical advice, and Seneca emphasizes that the two are separate but interdependent. His letters to Lucilius present Seneca's quest for moral perfection and represents a kind of philosophical testament to posterity. Seneca sees philosophy as a balm for the wounds of life. The destructive passions, especially anger and grief, must be rooted out. Seneca emphasizes that philosophy should not exist only on paper or in lectures, but should become part of everyday action. He writes in Letters to Lucilius, "Philosophically teaches us to live, not merely to talk about living." He criticizes philosophers who are too absorbed in theorizing without actually applying philosophy to life. For Seneca, living philosophy is the clearest demonstration of its value. According to Seneca, all human actions should be guided by virtue, virtus, not by ambition, lust, or personal gain. He believed that virtuous actions not only help individuals achieve inner peace, but also contribute to building a more just and harmonious society. Live simply and virtuously. Seneca often reminded that it is not necessary to have power or wealth to live a meaningful life. Instead, living according to moral principles and doing the right thing is the most important thing. Avoid meaningless ambition. In his works, Seneca repeatedly warned about the dangers of ambition for power and lust, arguing that they only lead to insecurity and suffering. Seneca not only taught philosophy, but also applied it in his role as a politician and advisor. As an advisor to Nero in the early years of his reign, he tried to apply Stoic principles to govern the country in a benevolent and stable manner. Although he failed to completely control Nero, his efforts to maintain moral values in politics are still a testament to his philosophy of action. He wrote, "Do the right thing, even when no one is watching, for conscience is the strictest judge." Seneca not only encouraged outward action, but also emphasized the role of inward action, that is, self-reflection and self-improvement. For him, controlling emotions, training the will, and improving the mind were essential actions. Self-retreat. He considered controlling emotions to be one of the most important actions that humans need to perform. In On Anger, he argued that anger is not natural, but a result of not being able to control oneself. Self-discipline. Seneca believed that every day was an opportunity to become better. He often practiced Stoic exercises, such as putting himself in difficult situations to prepare for adversity. One of the clearest manifestations of Seneca's philosophy of action in his life was the way he faced death. He not only accepted death calmly, but also saw it as an opportunity to act in accordance with the philosophy he preached. When ordered to commit suicide, he chose to end his life with self-control, asserting the ultimate control that humans can hold. In this way, Seneca made exercising death and desert part of human life. Seneca's philosophy of action is not only applicable in ancient Rome, but also has practical value in the modern world. He reminds us that philosophy is not a distant thing, but a tool for solving everyday problems. In work, virtuous action is the key to building a sustainable career. In personal life, controlling emotions and living meaningfully helps people achieve peace. In the community, benevolent action helps build good relationships and a harmonious society. Seneca's philosophy of action is a reminder that philosophy is not just about contemplation, but also about practice. For him, every action, no matter how small, is meaningful if it is guided by virtue and kindness. Seneca's life and work continue to inspire us to take action, not only to improve ourselves, but also to make the world a better place. Lucius Annaeus Seneca was not only a philosopher, a writer, or a politician. but also a symbol of resilience and serenity in the face of life's challenges. From lessons about time, how to control emotions, to accepting fate and facing death, his philosophy has transcended time, becoming a beacon of light for those seeking peace and meaning in life. Seneca's story reminds us that although life is short and full of ups and downs, we can still live a full life and leave a meaningful legacy if we act with virtue and reason. The Stoic philosophy he left behind is not just for philosophers or scholars, but for all of us, people who are trying to find balance and happiness in the modern world. If Seneca's story has inspired you, join me in exploring more profound and practical Stoic philosophies in the next videos. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any content. Our journey doesn't stop here. It's just beginning. Together, we will learn how to live a life worth living, as Seneca taught. See you in the next video.